The family of a 22-year-old Jamestown man who fatally overdosed is speaking out and sharing their stories in hopes of helping others. Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Justin Gould. Cheyenne Howard and Ellen Metzler, both older sisters of Randy Metzler Jr., spoke with me last week after their brother overdosed. Metzler Jr. was incarcerated in Chautauqua County's jail for over a year in what his family said was a blessing in disguise, as he was able to receive help for his addiction issues.
Their thought process is not the same as yours is or mine is, and they don't have that decision-making skills when this addiction is taking over. And the barriers that are set, I know it's not just Chautauqua County, and he's not the first person this has happened to, and that's where the issue is.
Howard says that her family was afraid when Metzler Jr. was released from custody, he would relapse. Unfortunately, she says their fears came true after his attorney petitioned to have him released.
To me, they fed him to the wolves. They knew that he would either, one, end up in jail, or two, die. And it took less than 24 hours for our little brother to die.
Before overdosing, Metzler Jr. was staying temporarily with his father, living in Jamestown. He leaves behind a daughter who was in the care of his sister Cheyenne.
I've had her since she was born. She's now 16 months old. He hasn't seen her in a year because he was away. And he was supposed to come over yesterday. My dad had called me, and I figured he was telling me that they were on their way, and I called, and it's definitely not what I thought he was going to say.
The sisters say their brother's drug of choice was heroin and meth. However, they're waiting for official word on what he took. Years ago, the young man tried getting help from the recovery program at UPMC Chautauqua Hospital in Jamestown. However, that did not work.
He was allowed to go outside and go for a walk with someone else who was also an addict, and they just kept walking, and all they could do was say, "Hey, please come back."
She says there's a stigma surrounding addicts, something they hope can be cleared up.
Before this happened, he was not this person that he was when he passed away. This drug took over him, and yes, for a few years it defined him, but he was the most bubbly, outgoing, fun person before this took over. And I know when he first tried it, he wasn't like, "Oh, this is gonna ruin my whole life." No, he was still a teenage boy, and it was exciting for him. And
a lot of people, thought of him, he's a thief and he's this or that, but he wasn't. He really wasn't. He was a really good boy, and we all loved him a lot.
The two have a simple message for others who might be struggling.
Get help if you need help. Don't worry about judgment. And if your family, fight. Fight until the system helps you. Do not let them just throw your loved one on the street, because this shouldn't have happened.
His family was hopeful Metzler Jr. could find help out of the area, but say it's hard to find resources. Earlier this year, Chautauqua County officials launched a new website. It's combataddictionchq.com. combataddictionchq.com. That aims to help addicts find recovery. When we told the sisters about that platform, they had no idea it existed, a site they say should be advertised more.